Mademoiselle in sa deuxième Chanel. How y'all doing today? I'm not doing great, but I have to film. I'm really not in the mood, but filming does make me feel better. So I decided to just sit down and film some videos because when I'm telling y'all, oh my God, I feel like I could slap a bitch, but I decided to throw myself into work instead and make the haters mad. So as you guys can tell, we are going to be doing a Voodoo story time. I know y'all love the Voodoo story times, and this was the perfect one to do because it puts me back in high school. Now, if you guys have been watching me for a very long time, this story comes from my era of, I guess, homelessness, I shall say. I've always wanted to sit down and talk about those story times because a lot of you guys followed me from that era when I talked about all the things that me and my parents went through. And it's interesting because a lot of people kind of like hit me up anytime I try to make like any comments about parents or like bad kids or any type of adversity, and they're always like, oh, but your parents did this, like how could you still talk to them? And it's like, bro, a lot of y'all parents be beating y'all ass, ruining y'all credit, doing all this shit, and y'all don't cut them off. At the end of the day, I love my parents more than anything, and I just chalk it up to literally more than one thing could be true at the same time. They did the best that they could, and it just was not good enough. So if you guys do not know what I'm talking about, I'll link the videos down below. But I was homeless a few times as a kid because my parents just literally had a lot going on. My dad had a gambling issue. I've been very open about it, but my parents are literally like my best friends. I'm doing a lot better now, but I will say I believe that's where my anxiety stems from. And at the time where we were homeless for a very long bout of time, I would say like a couple of months, we all stayed in different places. I stayed at my best friend's house, my mom stayed at a family friend's house, and my dad was staying at my uncle's house. Now, the crazy part about this is I will say my mom literally at this family friend's house had the craziest time. Like, I kid you not, where she was at, literally, I would go there for my daily dose of drama, okay? Like, you know how, like, they say that humans are messy, and the reason that, like, reality shows and news and drama channels always do well is because, like, people enjoy seeing other people's mess simply because, you know, we like to see other people suffer, or we like to see other people's lives who are more messier than ours. This family was the definition of that. So, of course, we're gonna do fake names, we're gonna do fake details, stuff like that, because I actually still know these people. I'm no longer close with this person's family or this person that I'm going to be talking about, but this story may remind you guys of the story that I did recently regarding the man that essentially fell out in church. Buckle in, it's going to be a very, very interesting one. So like I said, this takes place in high school when I was homeless and my mom was staying at a family friend's house. So essentially when my mom was staying with this family friend, there was a lot of people in the house. So this family was known for bringing loads of people from Haiti into the States. So let's just name these people. So we had the grandfather, we're just gonna call him grandpa. We had the daughter, that we'll call her the main daughter. She's the one that helped him bring everybody into the States. We're going to call her Amy. And we have the two main sisters. They did not like each other for shit. Let me just say that right now. And that was the source of all the entertainment. Like what I'm telling you, Haitians in is crazy, but these two, they deserve a fucking series on Netflix, HBO, something, because it was so bad. So we're gonna name them Linda and Rebecca. Okay, so Linda, Rebecca, and Amy were sisters. However, Amy was here in the States. She helped bring Linda and Rebecca into the States along with their kids. Now, mind y'all, you guys are probably like, wait, how many people's in this house? Child, a lot, okay? And crazy enough, between two apartments, there was probably at least like 15 people living in these motherfucking apartments, okay? You have the grandfather, Linda, Rebecca. Now, Linda had one son, and then Rebecca had 1, 2, 3 kids. So already there was 8 of them in a house. Okay, now add my mom to that. I will say they were extremely gracious for letting my mom stay with them despite having all the motherfuckers in the house and that being illegal, okay? Because like my mom really didn't have much of anywhere else to go. And my mom was very close to them at the time. And she just really felt comfortable there more than at my uncle's house or at my best friend's house. It was closer to the train station to get to her job. So it just made more sense to her. So when I'm telling y'all, Linda and Rebecca did not like each other, it was so fucking bad. Like I'm talking about like cats and dogs, like fist fighting every single day. And of course the beef extended down to their kids. So now we have to give the kids a name. So we're going to name Linda's son sons, so she only had one son. We're gonna name him Paul. Paul was so nice, okay? I liked Paul. I thought that Paul was a really cool dude. The only problem with Paul is that Paul was a very, very big pushover, okay? He was one of those kids that was definitely an easy target. Anytime he would go to school, because we all went to high school together. It was me, him, and then Rebecca had a son as well. We also went to the same school. So the three of us went to the same high school. And Rebecca's son, we're gonna name him Chris. Chris was a badass, okay? He was annoying as fuck. I didn't really like him. I still don't like him to this day. When I see him, I ignore his existence. But Paul, so nice. Chris, annoying as fuck, a douchebag, just not a great person. So Chris and Paul always fighting, okay? I'm talking about like bullying. Like, you see how people be bullying strangers and like kids that they don't know in school? Like, think about that, but in a household. Like, literally, like Paul would just be watching TV, doing absolutely nothing, like minding his own business, and Chris would just come out of nowhere and just like take the TV remote out of his hand and like hit him with the remote type shit. Like, he would be eating food and he would take the plate of food away from him type shit. Like, it was so bad. And you guys are probably wondering like, okay, so what's the big deal? Why were they doing this? Apparently, all of this started as soon as they came to the States, and it started with sibling rivalry, but not really sibling rivalry. So I guess we'll call it cousin rivalry. All because Paul was doing way better than Chris in school. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys have never been privy to this whole idea of parents being upset that one kid is doing better than another kid that lives in a household, now you've heard about it. If you do know about it and you've experienced it, comment down below, because child, it is nuts, all right? Like, it is one of the craziest things I've ever witnessed in my life. Like, literally, I will say Paul was a very bright kid, but like I said, he was always getting pushed around. He was always getting bullied. Like, it was to the point where literally I had to fight people off of Paul. Like, y'all already know, if you've never been here before, or if you never watched my personal channel or my main channel, I used to fight all the time. I grew up in Elizabeth, where Haitians and Black Americans did not get along at all. So a lot of the Haitian kids, especially those that just came from Haiti, were always getting bullied. So when it came to Chris and Paul, they just came from Haiti. They were always getting bullied. But the difference between Chris and Paul is that Chris was always able to defend himself. Like, he would fight back. Like, he was not playing no games. But Paul, oh my God, he would get his ass beat, all right? And I used to sit there like, don't bother my Paul, boy. Like, don't even do that. So it was just like, Jesus. And I would tell my mom, like, yo, Paul getting his ass whooped. Like, y'all need to teach that boy how to fight. But then when I would come over to the house and I'd see Chris bully him too, I'm like, God damn, like, he's just a little spineless motherfucker. Like, he just can't fight. But, you know, like, I understand, like, some people are just like that. But at the same time, it comes to a point where you just need to, like, stop getting your ass beat. And eventually he did just stop getting his ass beat. Eventually he stood up for himself and he stopped, you know, letting Chris pick on him. And he was like, yo, like, you're not gonna put hands on me. Like, you're not gonna pick on me like that. So eventually they start fighting. And of course, because he starts fighting back, Rebecca's like, oh, your son keeps touching my son. And Linda's like, nah, what we're not gonna do is start blaming my son for putting hands on your son when your son was the one that was bullying my son first. So then it becomes a lot of controversy, okay? When I'm telling you, drama on drama, like, literally, like I said, Netflix, HBO, you name it, they deserve a series on every single network, because literally the sagas that happened with this family are just ridiculous. They also had two other girls in the house, but they're not really privy to this story. They're not too important. I'll mention them as they come up. But what's very, very crazy about this is the only reason that they were brought to America is because Amy only agreed to bring them here if Rebecca and Linda agreed to give up their children for tax purposes. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, one thing about Haitians, one thing about Voodoo, it's always going to be a story about l'argent when it comes to people doing malicious shit, okay? It's not l'argent, it's l'amour, okay? It's love or money. It's always one of those things. So the agreement was, I'll bring y'all here, I have no problem, but, you know, until the kids are 18, I'm gonna need to make some money off the taxes. And they agreed. I feel like they didn't understand what exactly that meant. Like, what taxes in America was, what giving the kids information for taxes meant. Like, I feel like they're from Haiti, right? I don't think they understood the full context of what she was asking. So, of course, they just said, yeah, whatever, fil pour nous venir ici. Like, you know what, file the paperwork. I really don't give a shit. I'm gonna give you what you want, because America, land of the free, you feel me? So eventually they ended up coming here and everything was fine up until tax time. So almost a year to the date that these people came into America, okay? Tax time rolls around and Amy comes to collect, okay? Amy's like, yo, where is the tax documents? She asks grandfather this. She's like, yo, where are the tax documents? And grandfather's like, what do you mean? And she's like, what do you mean? What do I mean? where are the tax documents, the whole agreement for bringing all of these people here? Because mind y'all, I just named like what, 7 people, 8 being the grandfather, but the grandfather was already here. So that's 7 people they brought in. And those are only 1 people. Like that's 1 family. Well, technically 2 families in 1 house. There was a whole bunch of other motherfuckers in another house. Okay, please keep that in mind. All right, they had so many people here. It just didn't make sense. Like I was trying to understand how the hell they got all the money, the paperwork and all of that to bring all these people here, but they brought so many people here. So she's like, bro, like where's the paperwork? He's like, oh, I'm not about to sit here and argue with you. I'm not giving you the paperwork. Like that's their kids. They deserve to make money too, da 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 da. So now Amy's like, are you dumb? Like the whole agreement was we bring them here, I get the money off the kids, blah, blah, blah. Now you guys are probably like, well, why didn't she use the other kids? If I'm not mistaken, I feel like the other kids were being used by other people. This was a whole thing. Now, this is something that people do all the time. I don't agree with it, especially if you're not technically taking care of the kids. You should not be using them on your taxes, but people do this shit all the damn time, okay? So, big discussion capet, okay? Huge argument happens. They literally start beefing after this to the point where, like, literally they get into fist fights. Yes, Amy and her grandfather get into fist fights. My mom is constantly in the middle, pulling them apart, breaking up the fight. Like, it's a really big situation because it's like she's very upset that she can't make money and she has all these people in 2 apartments that, if I'm not mistaken, were under her name. And, you know, they had an agreement and now their agreement is broken. So boom, 2nd year rolls around, okay? So at this point, my mom's not living there. We've got an apartment. We are now across the park, which is so stupid to me. Every time I think about it, I'm like, bro, y'all just didn't want to move out the hood, huh? So anyways, and my mom's still going over there. We're still visiting all the time. Again, I need my daily dose of tea. I need my daily dose of drama and trauma, you feel me? So we would still go over there, and you already know my mom is a devout Catholic woman when she wants to be. Let me stop. But she's a devout Catholic woman, and she would always go to church with grandfather. And again, it's tax time, all right? But at this time, if I'm not mistaken, this was like one of those church celebration times. It was like one of those things where like you would go to church all week type shit. So it could have been Jericho. That's what it was. It's probably Jericho and Baya Konsa. And she was like, oh, grandfather, wale no Jericho, Baya Konsa, da da da. She was like, oh yeah, let's go. Child, right when they about to come, Amy comes in. Okay, mind you, it's a year later, tax time. Amy comes in. Oh, I'm not going without the tax papers. Just starts wilding, like literally starts wilding. I ain't going nowhere without the tax money. I don't know what the fuck y'all think this is. Literally blocking the door, going off, doing the most, talking about ain't nobody going nowhere without the tax money. Now, mind you, this is a weekday at this point. This is probably like Saturday or Friday, because I remember vividly that I definitely wasn't gonna go because I wasn't going to church at the time. Remember, keep up. I tell these stories all the time. I wasn't like really a church person at the time. I would go wherever my mom went and I would just be chilling. And I remember specifically that when it came to that time, like it was still sunlight out and they were going early. Yeah, that's what it was. They were going a little bit early. It was a little bit sun out. So she's like, oh, so I'm just in there like, and when I'm telling y'all mad, like I don't think I've seen anybody as mad as this lady. Like she is like foaming out the mouth mad, okay? She is like screaming, veins popping out her like neck mad. She's like, nobody's leaving here. I need the tax money, da 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 da, cursing out her father, cursing out Rebecca, cursing out Linda, shit, cursing out the kids. I'm chilling. My mom's like, no, just relax. My mom's a peacemaker. My mom's always trying to kumbaya, and I'm always just like, get it all out, because you don't get it out here, when are you gonna get it out, baby? So she's just going off. I'm just sitting there. I'm just like, yeah, this is a little too fucking much. So I go call my friend. At the time, I was friends with her son, and I go tell him like, yo, your mother is tripping. Your mother is wilding. He comes in, tries to grab his mom, and it becomes a full-blown altercation. This lady gonna throw a zocolo at her father. I said, boy, c'est pas possible. I never in my life see somebody throw a zocolo at their parent until that day. I said, ain't no way Haitian parents fight Haitian parents, or Haitian grown women fight their parents. Nonetheless, I ain't never seen a person actually throw a hit at their parent, especially one that's older, like one that's a grown woman. I swear to God, that lady said, ha! I said, wait! I said, what? You guys are probably wondering where the voodoo comes in. pay attention, get your fruit. She is still going, y'all, okay? So my friend is holding his mother back. She is going, like she is literally trying to beat the shit out of him. The grandfather is crying, okay? The grandfather's like, like calling for my mom because now my mom's fucking crying. I'm trying to get my mom, like, bitch, if she hit you, now I'm gonna fucking have to hit her because what the fuck is you doing? So I'm trying to get my mom, like, fuck this, let's get the fuck out of here. Yo, I'm trying to get my mom, like, like, nah, let's get the fuck out of here. Because don't nobody got time for this. Don't nobody got time for that. I said, no, because I swear to God, if anything touch you, I'm touching her. I don't give a fuck. So it's just a hot mess. All of a sudden, police come, y'all. And she is just muddling a bunch of shit. And it's crazy because nobody's paying attention. But you know me. Nosy McNoster. I hear the shit. She's like, oh, my voyage job. And I'm like, voyage job? For the non-Haitians. She says she gonna send spirits. She's saying she gonna send something to eat him. She's saying she gonna get her shit quand même. She talk about some, oh, not pay, yes, oh, we gonna pay for that. Who gonna pay for what? Who? I ain't got nothing to do with this, bitch. Ma voyage n'a payé ça. Nous tout ça nous fait. Mais c'est comme taxe moins. Nous pas faisons pas. Oh, nous mettez main sur moi. First of all, nobody put hands on you, bitch. You put hands on your father. You should be ashamed of yourself. You're grown ass. You're grown as fuck. You're in your 40s, 50s, however old you were at the time. 40s. And you sitting here touching a grown ass man. The man was fucking like 80 at the time. Like, what is you even doing? You should be ashamed of yourself. It was a mess. Cops came, did report, did all this goofy shit. Obviously, my mom and grandfather did not go to the church that day. Me and my mom get home, we tell our dad, and my dad's just sitting there laughing like, why you keep going to these crazy people's house? And my mom's like, oh no, but they helped me out, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, honestly, that was a very unexpected situation. Like, we really did not expect anything to come of it. Like, we were just like, yeah, that's just some wild shit. Now, let's take a pause right here. Now, what's very interesting about this whole thing when she was like, oh, I'm a voyage job, the funny thing is, I found out that day because my mom was like, oh, you know, it's crazy. You know, the whole entire time, like, you know, she kept saying she was gonna send something after him. Now I'm afraid she's really gonna send something after him. And I'm just like, that's her dad. People don't do that. But I'm like, people send things after their fucking kids. So why wouldn't somebody send something after their dad? So I'm like, I don't think so. You really think you really think she would be like sinister enough to send something after her father? And what's crazy is like literally months leading up to that, like he just started getting really, really sick. But I'm just like, okay, he's old. Okay, like people die, like people get old. But it was one of those things where it was like kind of like I've mentioned most of the time in all of my other videos, he got sick out of nowhere. Like on some like one day he was fine, next day he wasn't, but then he'd be fine again, then he would get really sick again. But nobody thought anything of it, right? But then I thought of everything that this lady said, talking about, oh, my voyage job, like I'm gonna send shit after you. I'm just like, I ain't think anything of it again. I didn't put two and two together. I said, oh, what's the worst that could happen? Shit, ain't got nothing to do with me. I was mad I was even there at that point. I said, well, luckily y'all going to church tomorrow, so maybe he could pray it away and ask God for guidance. I don't know. I said some bullshit like that. Child, the next day. Now they're actually going to church. I believe this day, it could have been a Saturday or Sunday. Nonetheless, it was still a little bright outside. So I'm not, whatever, not important to the story. So these niggas go back at it again, okay? My mom goes over there and she's like, oh, y'all thought y'all could call the cops on me. Oh, nous pensez nous taper les police sous moi. Nous pensez nous taper faire un bagay. Like y'all thought y'all was doing something by calling the cops. Oh, busy, papier tax, yo. I want the tax papers. You guys are probably wondering, where's Linda and Rebecca? Scared as fuck, hiding. Okay, hiding behind my mom, okay, who is holding the grandfather, who is being hit by Amy, okay, who is being held by my friend. And I am next to my mom like, bitch, move, because if she fucking touches you, I'm touching her, and everybody getting slapped in this bitch. So it's just a really bad situation, okay? So it's the same setup. It was that setup before, now it's the setup now, and I'm just like, this is ridiculous. So this whole thing's happening. I'm trying to pull my mom, and she's like, oh, just trust me. You're not gonna live much longer doing this goofy shit. You're not gonna live this life. Mind you, she's saying all this in Creole. Tout caca wap fait là, ou pas vivre longtemps, like just saying all this shit. And I'm just like, you know what? Honestly, it's really not that serious. Like all this for tax papers, like this is kind of extra. I felt really bad for grandfather because like he was stressed, like, and he looked very off. And y'all already know, I could kind of like tell when something's up with somebody, you know, I could see it in the eyes. If you know, you know. I have like this thing where like I could kind of see the the spirit of death type shit. I didn't see that at that time, so I was like, okay, maybe. I mean, he looked stressed, he looked anxious, but I said, I mean, I'd be stressed and anxious too if my kid tried to beat me up twice, 48 hours. So whatever. Him and my mom end up going to church. They go downstairs, and this is from my mom's perspective at this point. My mom told me that they got picked up because there's this lady that used to pick them up and go to church with them, and basically like he couldn't even get into the car. Like he was just like he was like, oh my God, like I can't get in the car. And my mom's like, are you okay? Like, do you think we should go to church? It's okay if you want to stay home. It's okay if you don't want to go. And I'm just like, the nigga was just fine. Like he just walked down the stairs, and I know he walked down the stairs because the elevator was broken. The elevator was always broken in that fucking building. So my mom was like, yeah, nah, like he couldn't go in the car, so we decided not to go. So my mom didn't go to church with him that day. So now, again, like I mentioned before, series of random sicknesses. I'm talking about shit that nobody could diagnose type of sicknesses, and nobody's thinking anything of it because he's old. Okay, now I said 80 before. He had to be like 70 at the time. I believe he ended up passing away at like 80, spoiler alert. But this is years later. He's an older gentleman. It's not uncommon for older people to be sick. So nobody really thought anything of it until he ended up going to church later on for something else. It wasn't Jericho, it was for something else. I can't even tell you what it was. Could have been Easter, since I believe this was like April, March, so it could have been Easter. Child. Niggas go to church for Easter. I remember this vividly, and it's so funny because I was just like, is it a me thing? Like I really, for the longest, let me just tell the story. We go to church, everything seems to be fine. Like he seems fine, everything was fine, everything was okay. I mean, obviously he was sad because again, his daughter tried to beat the fuck out of him like twice in 48 hours, like the weeks prior leading up to this, or the week before, whatever the case may be. I don't remember the timeline. Mind you, this was over a decade ago. However, it was one of those things where like he was fine for the most part. Health-wise, he was fine. For what it was, he was fine. Literally, tell me why? Tell me why halfway through the service, as everyone is singing and everybody's having like a good old time, because mind you, it is an Easter service. Churches are way more packed during Easter service, and you know, music is a lot more lively. This man passes out and has a stroke in the middle of church and had to get picked up by an ambulance. This time I was like right behind him. The last story I was like on the other side of church. This time I'm right behind him, and that shit happened so quickly. I was just like, what the fuck? Now again, we're all thinking older gentleman, sick. It can't be anything that's out of the ordinary, child. So he goes to the hospital, comes back a few days later. Why the fuck this man starts speaking in tongues? Not too out of ordinary, but then he starts saying that his name is a different name. He starts speaking in a tone that's just like, my name is this is that. And I'm just like, hold up. Now at the time, I didn't know nothing about spiritual stuff, voodoo, anything. So I'm just like thinking, oh, maybe he's just, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking, to be honest with you. I can't tell you what 15, 16-year-old me was thinking, but I will say it was scary. I will say this is one of the very few times that I experienced something like that, and I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, he was just sitting there like, my name is, I'm not gonna say the name. He's like, my name is this, and I'm here for that, and I'm not leaving until I get this. And I'm just like, nigga, what the fuck is going on? Like, mind y'all, like, we were all sitting in the living room, and that's what happened. Like, we were all just chilling, sitting in the living room, and that's what he said. He's like, oh, non, c'est etel, m'vin pou etel, m'vin pou ki sa, pap soti, sim pa jwen sa. Don't know what I was thinking. Now that I look back at the whole situation, that's why I really wanted to tell the story. I was like, oh shit. Me and my parents were actually talking about this like 2-3 weeks ago, and I was like, oh shit. Yeah, that did happen. Like, yeah, because he actually ended up passing away years later. Maybe like he passed away like right before COVID. I was like, well, I mean, he lasted a long time after that. So fast forward, he ended up remaining sick for a very long time. The family ended up staying dysfunctional. Loads of people left the family, left the house, created their own lives, whatever the case may be. Of course, Linda and Rebecca never got along, never apologized to each other, kept fighting, all that shit. All succeeded beautifully. Chris, from what I understand, I don't think he's a bum. He's doing something, but nothing better than Paul. But from what I understand, Linda and Rebecca still fighting like oil and water. They're like cat and dogs. They do not get along. Most of the family is very segregated now because of what happened to the grandfather. And many people believe that his own daughter did that to him, and she is the reason why he passed away. A lot of people think it was voodoo, because that whole situation where he was talking and saying, oh, my name is this, that, and I came for this, that happened numerous times. Like, it wasn't that one only time. I was only there for that one time, but my mom told me she was there all the time. So So my mom told me like, yeah, that happened like almost every time she was there. And then like he would just be out of it, all types of shit. Ultimately, he died of like, was it a stroke again? I forgot. He died of something else later on. Personally, I feel like he was just sick and he was stressed. That's just my personal opinion. But I mean, I will say the whole my name is this and I came here for that is a little creepy. And I wouldn't put it past the mom to do that, only because I have heard some other things about her doing some other things that she should not be doing. Yeah, let me know what you guys think down below. Do you think that she might have sent something after her father for taxes? Because I'd be mad if I brought 12 plus people here and I didn't get no money from it, even though you shouldn't be doing it for money. Like, let's be real, you should be bringing these people here out of the goodness of your heart, not to cheat the system, but a deal is a deal. So with that being said, let me know what you guys think about this video down below. Let me know what you guys would have done in her situation. Would you guys have kept pressing for the tax documents? What would you guys have done if you were him? Because if I was him, I would have pressed fucking charges on her dumb ass for putting hands on me because, child, I just feel bad for him that like literally all his kids were fighting. Like he brought all his kids here, all for them to be fighting each other and doing all this goofy shit. Very unfortunate. With that being said, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe, and I'ma see y'all next time. Bye!